I am the mother. I am in the heart of the universe. Throughout all of time, I have never suffered from such heat or exhaustion. I have endured for the last 1,000 years. Since that time, my natural connection points, my rivers, reservoirs, and internal waterways across all continents have been obstructed and are full of pollution. I cannot cleanse or recuperate. In December of 2023, I will start to rise and move and turn, sending this message out to all my children around the world. The storms, the earthquakes, the hurricanes, and the rise of the ocean will come. If the governments, the sultans, the princes, presidents, and kings of the world do not listen and act, in 2 years' time, only 30% of the earth will remain. I am the mother. I have always endured despite arrows being put in my eyes and in my body. I am not seeking to defend myself. I remain calm. But now, I must recuperate. There are two ways for me to heal. The first, I could take the law of nature into my own hands. This way, I will go in search of my medicine so I can cure my body, heal my energies, and all that I'm suffering from. There will be great changes upon the earth. You will feel me recovering. You will feel me moving. I will not do this to cause harm to you. It will mean I am recuperating my body. Or the second way. All my children will make the healing happen for me, so I will not need to do it myself. I will put my older children in charge of my recovery. They will go and search for my medicines, for my cure, so I can be healed and recuperate with their help. You, my children, must all be united and deliver what is needed for your older brothers so they can do the healing where I have been injured by you, my younger ones. Each one of the rulers of the world, of the governments of the world, must say, "Yes, Mother, I will stand with you. I will give my help to where you have been injured. I, your mother, have given you everything." When these changes start to happen, we will see whether you listen and act, or whether I myself will have to do what I must to recover the balance on Earth. If in just 6 months from now, by June 2024, you say, "Yes, we will provide what is needed," then my oldest children will be able to help cure my body. If this message is ignored, I will take the law of nature into my own hands, 1.5 years from that date. This is the message that the Mother has given, she who is in the heart of the world.
Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to the opening Chartres Community Call for 2024 in the spirit of the Mother and in solidarity with all of you who over the years have been in our community. As each year for 18 years now, we have consecrated an annual pilgrimage to Chartres Cathedral and the hill of the Celts in France, and revered the sacred feminine as a portal to a more abundant expression of all of our human potential. And when the Kogi prophecy was released with the video that we all just saw around the solstice of last year in 2023, it struck me to the core of my being that we have now, as we enter 2024, come to the day of reckoning. Humanity has so egregiously violated all the natural laws of human conduct and interactivity with the larger planetary ecology that the Mother is now about ready to shake herself, to regenerate herself, to renew herself with or without us. And the great choice now has come on which side all of us individually and collectively will place our allegiance and put our energy. It's very easy to take in something like the Kogi prophecy, and we feel it in our heart. But our Western mind, the mind of the little brother, as she calls us, dismisses it because it's not scientific. It's not rational. It's not in the New York Times. And in that spirit, I want to bring to all of our attention something that was released this last week by the World Economic Forum, easily the most august gathering of world leaders in the world, who are, as we speak, flying to Davos in Switzerland to gather as the elites of business and government and science and technology to confer about the state of the world. In preparation for this, the World Economic Forum commissioned 1,490 specialists in risk management from all over the world, mostly from business, and then some from government, from academia, from science and technology. And their remit was to make an assessment of risk for the world as we enter 2024. The general consensus was that we are going to experience what they called a planetary catastrophe within the next 10 years. 500 of them out of the 1,490 predicted that the world will experience a global catastrophe in the next 24 months. Climate scientists have been predicting for several years now, as we have traversed every single planetary threshold point, that we are headed into an extinction event, as they call it, sometime in late 2025 or 2026. So as we enter 2024, all of us need to take in that what we're experiencing is a conflation of spiritual insight at the deepest level of the indigenous mind, indigenous wisdom, with the latest scientific, analytic consideration of the world of the little brother. And therefore, we at Ubiquity University are encouraging all of us to take very seriously that we have about 6 months to really prepare ourselves internally for what is about ready to happen, and to consecrate ourselves as a community to stand with the mother. One of the things that I personally have been working on since I saw the video in December, we've been reaching out to elders around the world. I'm now in touch with the Kogi elders and others, and we're beginning to encourage people all over the world, wherever you are, whoever you are, to take seriously this situation. And on the solstice, on June 20, 2024, wherever you choose to be, to stand with the mother. Ubiquity and our Chartres Academy, we're all going to be in Teotihuacan at the Pyramid of the Sun and the Moon, just outside of Mexico City. This is the only year where we have not gone to Chartres because the Olympics is going to be happening during that time. So as you all know, we've chosen to go to Teotihuacan. And I want to encourage all of you to join us at that time, in that place, to stand together on the solstice with the mother. This may be the most important act of solidarity with Gaia and solidarity with each other at this extraordinarily crucial time in human history. And I believe in the depths of my being that if there's a critical mass of us, even without our governments, that are willing to take this seriously and stand with the mother on the solstice, that she will listen and she will have mercy and she will assist us in navigating through whatever it is that she needs to then do in order to resuscitate her vital systems of her planetary ecosystem. And this is one reason why today we wanted to hear from a renowned astrologer about what the planetary alignments, what the stars have to say about this very consequential year. And it's in that spirit that I want to welcome all of you, and in that spirit that I want to welcome my distinguished colleague from Persia, Banafsheh Sayad, the co-director with me of the Chartres Academy. Banafsheh, thank you so much for all that you've done. Welcome to our session, and Banafsheh will now introduce Caroline Casey.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everyone. Happy New Year to you. Knowing that we have a choice to stand with our Mother Earth in the face of the dire situation we face is truly a gift and an opportunity that I hope we all take. It is my honor and my pleasure to introduce Caroline Casey to you, who will be presenting a trickster's guide to crafting our dedicated alchemical vessel of necessary miracles, as she says, to navigate the wild, dangerous seas of 2024. Honing her unique craft of mytho-political guiding storytelling since 1970, Caroline invites us to imagine and conjure and implement a more lovingly ingenious world. She's the host weaver of context for the Visionary Activist Show, which has been airing for 27 years now on the Pacifica Radio Network, offering critique and solution dedicated to anything we need to know to have a democracy and cultivating participatory intimacy with the world via mythological literacy. Caroline offers trickster training, counsel, and presentations at conferences all over America and British Columbia, as well as in Hawaii, the Caribbean, Bali, New Zealand, South Africa, Sweden, and the UK. She is the author of Making the Gods Work for You, the Astrological Language of the Psyche, and Visionary Activist Astrology. Caroline, I welcome you to the Chartres Community Call.
Thank you. Thank you. A great honor to convene with all of us exactly at this powerful, dangerous time. So astrology really is one of the first languages of participatory kinship, regardless of whatever we think it is. And I'll introduce, just as we have endogenous in our bodies receptors for cannabis and for DMT, we have endogenous receptors for mythology and astrology. You know, we know it. You know, so let me introduce everybody. But so here we are in the traveling now. And as we introduce planets, I've often thought that Neptune dreams, vision, imagination, says we're all in this dream together. And, excuse me, in a ways back, when Neptune entered Pisces, the image was as though all the flora, fauna, fungi on this planet met backstage and was like, what are we going to do about the humans? We got to either kill them or heal them. Let's do both, right? So, right, just as the Kogi say, and we are all in accord, it's the Kogi part of ourselves speaking to us, going, whoa, it is dangerous. Everywhere, very tippy, tyranny, Middle East, tinderbox, right? So everything that everyone does matters a lot. I love Terry Pratchett saying, magic is easy. You just find the fulcrum and give it a little push. And then what are the qualities we most want to cultivate in this hot reactive field? So we bring in all of our mythic allies and everything from our journey. I love the Taoist Rainbringer part of ourselves. Let's bring him in. When Richard Wilhelm was in China translating the I Ching, there was a terrible drought, and the villagers invited the Taoist Rainbringer. And he sat in meditation for a day and a half, and then it poured and poured, and some say it snowed. So Wilhelm went to him and said, how did you make the rain come? And the Taoist Rainbringer said, oh, I didn't make the rain come. Where I live, things are in harmonious accord. When I came to your community, it was so whacked out. It took me a day and a half to come into harmony. And when I came into harmony, the rains came. So what do we want to cultivate, you know, and hold each other, you know, to it, you know, what is the quality of what we want to be? So yes, the Kogi, and as Banafsheh said, let me say again, you know, right now, I'm titling this Majnoun. Majnoun means crazy for the divine, that kind of yearning, you know, and the yearning also in music that is also grief. And there's so much grief in the world. It's the Israelis who suffered on October 7th. It's the Gazans and the West Bank who are suffering every day. There's huge grief. And what we want is the community of the grieving to flow across borders, like, ooh, ooh, we're all in this thing together. And so much of the music of the Middle East, where there's too much Mars, we go to Venus, you know, is full of that yearning, like, whoa, you know, and it's grief artfully expressed becomes a sacrament of kinship, that kind of, ooh. So Majnoun, Crazy for the Divine, right? Trickster's Guide, where crafting our dedicated vessel of necessary miracles to navigate this wild, dangerous seas. And what do we want to take with us? And what do we want to encourage in each other? So yes, the trickster. I've been in love for months with the fact that the word vessel in all languages means container and boat, right? So right now, we craft our alchemical vessel of our dedication, and then we're going to get in and set sail, right? So we craft, and there's beautiful, so much is trying to help us out. Saturn and Jupiter say, craft your vessel of dedication, the person you want to be. We can't even be ourselves without help. We go, hold me to this, right? And Jupiter says, whatever vessel all of you craft now, this time period, I will fill it. I will fill it. Cooperators are standing by, right? So off we go. And better to create prophecy than live prediction. Prediction comes from predicament, almost always negative. So we honor the Koji absolutely. Trickster. What qualities do we want to cultivate? So I lived with an actual coyote for 19 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 days, Stella. And Stella and I, conjured a creation myth. Long before there were humans, there was Trickster who sets the whole shebang going with a sizzle of lightning, liberating lightning. And this unique genius flows through all the flora and fauna, everything, and the fungi too. And every now and then it's imprisoned or contained or orthodoxed or whatever. So it becomes a fantastic escape artist and an escapade artist. And it flows all the way into all of us now. Right, because this is one of the qualities, nature's resilient trickster ingenuity. It's coyote, it's raven, it's seeds that sprout after cataclysm. It likes impossible things. It's a part of us that is rising to the occasion, going, and so when I first adopted Stella Coyote, I hosted Lakota Elder on the air, on the radio show. And he said, oh, nothing smarter. And then he said, we Lakota did not hunt alone. Those gifted could go into a reverie, into a trance, could go backstage and broker working alliances, treaties across species borders. And they would do that, and we would negotiate a treaty, and we would all hunt together with the wolves and coyotes. And if you want to destroy the earth, and our culture too, all of it, have people forget this. This is a time of like, what have we forgotten that we must remember? Participatory kinship. Have people forget this, and so I love that now for all of us. So, and just as the Koji said, with Coyote, I mean, I was honored. It was an evolutionary experiment of reciprocal blessing. Coyote and I, we gave up a lot, but we got lots of benefits too. We have taught dogs shame. Coyote Trickster, in all of us, no shame. It's all wheel and deal, really, as the Kogi are laying forth. With Stella, she's like, I took 2 gloves. Here's one. What are you offering me for the other? And I go, how about this? No, how about 2 of those? Okay. So the model is, we know that we, as a rogue species, and the human race is on trial now in many literal and huge forms, right? We may want to come back to that. So we have set incredible, rude, cataclysmic cruelty, on all of our kin. So I invite us to craft. I'm working with self and others to things we've been saying for years. It's like, let's practice these things. Let's experiment. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what works. For all of us have the capacity, and even a memory going, right, it could have been you and you and you and you and you and me, have a memory of that in which we go backstage and emerge and go, It took a while. It was like buying a carpet in the Middle East. It involved conversation and manners and tea, but I think we got a deal. You know, the coyotes want the front left leg and half the liver of every other deer. The wolves are cool with that. We're okay with that. The deer are cool with that. Everybody back on stage. So now it's a bigger thing. Let me set up the metaphor here. So Edgar Cayce was a real psychic. I mean, a befoibled human as we all are, but a real psychic. And in 1940s, he prophesied that in 1970-ish, the east coast of America would be deluged by a great flood. And what we got was Watergate. So for us to experiment without hubris, without deriving status, anything, to go backstage and to go, oh, fire, oh, water, oh, our kin, we have behaved so disrespectfully. You know, what can we do so that to transform what's coming at us into metaphor rather than literalness? And having lived with Stella and the backstage and what the Kogi say is, what are you putting on the table? Right? It's this, then this, you know, and and I like their time proffering, right? And I love the summer solstice at Teotihuacan, the Mayan gods, not noted for humor, but there's a lot of power there. I've spent a fair amount of time, and it reminds us, you know, all of human participatory magic, you know, and the astrologos, you know, solstices and equinoxes for 25,000 years all over the world, you know, and these standing stones of powerful star sky alignments. You know, what's going on there? Say on the solstices and equinoxes, O literal and symbolic light of sun, come on in and illuminate this writing, this painting at the back of the cave that we don't usually see, right? This is the story our community wants to bring alive. This is the story of our community participating in the whole big community wants to bring alive. So we are humbled by horror, like, oh my God, the cruelty of our rogue species, like, and we say, what human could inflict such cruelty? We go, oh, a human who hasn't grieved, a human who mistakes grievance for grief. You know, Martin Prechtel says, for lack of grief, we go to war. And this is a big theme and something we can play with now. You know, I do a lot of political magic engagement, many forms, let's all of us do everything, you know. And one of my colleagues, Pat, said, you know, what is the antonym of grievance? And I go, oh, that's a really good question, because authoritarianism everywhere, you know, is fueled by grievance and polarity. This is great training, team, right? Yeah, authoritarianism does terrible things, which then feeds on. So how to spiral out of polarity. And we go, oh, that's why we want to make our dedication. This is the person I want to be, you know, to be an agent of liberating blessing, to not be provoked into polarity and heat. And so the grievance, however, is important. And grief is love. I mean, it's terrible, but it's like, oh, grievance is hatred. You know, and working with this, you know, I love Terry Pratchett, animistic writer's book, I Shall Wear Midnight, in which the cunning man, the tyrant spirit, the Dementor has come to town and created mob mind, you know, cruelty mind, the rough magic. Somebody picks up a stick and that gives people, that invites the worst of humans. And the young girl witch, you know, her job is to dissolve that, and what we all are too, to invite the best of humans, you know, come on in, the best, the ingenious, the cooperate with nature, the biomimicry, the listen to the Koja, it is before us, there is real magic to that, you know. So throughout time, the Death and Resurrection show has always been about humans inviting in. We don't source power. We invite it, and we invite it by dedication, by gathering like we are now in a dedicated heart way, by what we put on our altar, by, these are all invitations. Come on in. And we can create a template, come on in, and animate this story. So that's a huge thing. And, oh, fire, we have been most disrespectful. If we honor fire more, can we have less conflagration and heat? Oh, water, we have imprisoned you. What can we do so that we have reverent relationship to water rather than, floods and dire things? And with water, permaculture and biomimicry, essential, humans rather than looting nature, borrowing her ingenious designs, and all the native permaculture people, when water is forced into a straight channel, and orthodoxy, ortho means straight, it can't metabolize poison and it floods. When we rewilding, everything autonomous, what would you like, river? Where do you want to go? Again, our manners. We say animism is not a belief, it's just good manners, right? When rivers can undulate, and we all, and Bonhoeffer guides us that when we all undulate, it metabolizes poison, right? So everything's speaking to us in every possible way, and yeah, so the qualities of trickster that we want to bring in. So I was looking, going, all right, one story is with astrology, with everything, it's not what's going to happen, it's what's available with which to participate. And I'll briefly introduce some of the players. We'll be doing a longer thing on February 4th, which is exact midwinter when we call in the spirit of community. That's really cool. And many other things too. But yes, and I distracted myself. Oh yeah. So not so much what's going to happen. However, everything is useful. And I remember talking to a great astrologer buddy of mine in 1981, Jim Lewis, and he was looking through the ephemeris, the listing of planets, and in 1980 he said, oh my God, look at January 2020. And it's like, whoa, what? Oh, it's the Saturn Pluto. He said it's the age of Capricorn, quipping Saturn Pluto conjunction. And we both said, wow, we wonder what form the cauldron of death and rebirth will take then. So there are templates, and when we look at June 21st and its relationship, to December 2025, right? The year and a half after. I think that's right. So the planets represent living qualities of intelligence that reside within us all and connect us to the world. So everything, the part of this exquisite language, it's an exquisite language of our interior psyche, separated by a thin membrane we call identity, from the whole huge conversation, cultural, biological. So I'm just going to briefly introduce some of the beings here. So all that this is just a fact, a map. This is the Earth. Here's me, just outside Washington, D.C. This is the line of the horizon. Only thing different, on the left is east, on the right is west. But just where the planets are, we go, oh, well, look, for everybody, the moon in Pisces, its image is aviator, master of the high realm, sails across the skies, setting in motion projects that will benefit the next 7 generations. We go, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's right next to Saturn. We can see Saturn at night. Saturn is our power of dedication and authority. And we want to insource our authority, our power to dedicate and to define things. And because Saturn is authority, it's the part of all of us we most tend to outsource, to incompetent sociopaths, to irresponsible people, whatever. So as we insource our Saturn, everyone who, let's all be self-possessed rather than merely possessed, right? We suck the chi out of tyranny out there in the world, you know. So so yes, insourcing, and just something I'll just throw in here, because it says anything that's anywhere is everywhere. So Gaza, everywhere. It's all about land, right? And people stripped from their land. And my buddy Robert Bly, you know, would say the loneliest person in the world is the man after industrialism, when he must leave husbandry, the nuzzling of crops and vegetables and plants and tending, you know, and go to an office or a factory, right? And there's a soul sickness. We're looking at a soul sickness of our species that comes when we're separated in that way. And then tyranny has always separated indigenous people from land. The colonial settlerism is on trial, you know, and it behooves all of us. Anything, anywhere is everywhere, you know. So Gaza is everywhere. America rests on the underworld of, you know, indigenous people and enslaved people that created our prosperity. It behooves us to know. You know, it's like Gabor Mate said, you know, he was a Zionist. He was so in love with the beautiful dream of Israel, like, oh, but then he learned that that dream was a nightmare for the underworld that was suppressed. Here we are. You don't have to even follow this. These are my notes. The sun in Capricorn, which is the council of people gathering now, right next to Pluto, death, rebirth, intensity, you know, at the last degree. America's in its Pluto return, but we're all in our Pluto return in a sense, which is, you know, democratic animism, participate reverently with everything, or cataclysm, authoritarianism, death, you know, take your pick. Go, ooh. So, yes, there's all that. So anything, anywhere is everywhere. And everything is real and everything is a dream speaking to us like a mystery play. When the mystery play is not ritually celebrated, you know, whatever we ritualize, we need not literalize. All cultures have had ways of resolving conflict, of dancing with demons, right? So that then it doesn't come. What Pluto always says when it's in a powerful time of transition, as it is right now, you know, that is dangerous, volatile, and explosive in direct proportion to the force of its exclusion. So everybody's journey, what people have gathered along the way. I'll just say Venus right now in Sagittarius, she's at the degree that astrologers call resolving climate crisis, 19 Sagittarius, long-term cyclical vision. She's right next to Ceres Demeter, goddess of the earth, you know, and it's like, all right, here we are. In Sagittarius, the diaspora. I'm just, but so this is a crucial part of where we are now. It all starts off as one, the whole Pisces thing, and then diasporas into many, many, many different people, different tribes, different cultures, different food, different spiritual teachings, different, yeah, the many, 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 many. And at the outer brink, it can start to get, you know, orthodox or priest ridden or whatever. And now that's the diaspora, is the Cispera. You know, come on in, everything. And it reminds me in the Mabinogian 10th century Arthurian legends, the elders get together and they say, uh-oh, the men just found out they have something to do with children and things were going so well before this, right? And they go, oh, we can see what's going to happen. Women and children will be, you know, property, and humans will set forth on their individual journey until they lose kinship, not only with each other, but with the earth herself, until the earth might die. They said this pre-10th century, right? And then at that point, some people will come alive and they will keep all the value of their uniqueness, all the value of their unique journey, but join back into participatory unity. One big thing. So, right, many stories, many things, but yeah, absolutely, you know, as Jim and Banashe were saying, this resonates. You know, we have endogenous receptors. We know it's dangerous. we know that everything that everyone does matters enormously. And this is a little preview of what I'll be doing a longer version of on February 4th. But just a couple of immediate things. So planets are real and symbolic. This is a real map and a symbolic map. Everything real is symbolic, right? We live in a storytelling creation, everything speaking to us all the time by its shape, color, song, rhythm. And if we just approach the world with informed, reverent curiosity, we'd be back in the dance. So Jupiter and Uranus, let's see, let me introduce. Saturn is the part of us whose affinity is dedication. And here's the moon moving pretty quickly, but with us today saying these are pragmatic mystics, all of us here, good-hearted people, dedicated, what can we do? Really cool, super competent people. Mars exalted in Capricorn, this is describing all of us, aware of danger, cultivating the capacity to spiral linguistically, metaphorically. Spirals are nature's way of resolving conflict. When conflicting things come together. So spiraling out of polarity sucks the chi out of tyranny and feeds the community. So some imminent things. On January 20th, well, it's pretty soon, Pluto will leave Capricorn and enter Aquarius for the next 24 years. Community. And we always do it. The toxic mimic of community is a cult. And back to The Cunning Man and Grievance, Terry Pratchett's novel, the young girl witch says, the cunning man tyranny finds purchase in all whose hearts are full of grievance. It's like, oh, ooh. And it's in all of us. And because at first I was like, I don't have grievance. And it's like, ooh, that mean thing. So it behooves us now, part of our dedication, humans dissolving grievance from their hearts is part of essential to the fate of the world. Grief, yes. Just as community is liberating, with its own responsibilities of citizenship, a cult is the toxic mimic of community, always tyrannical. Governments can be cults, religions can be cults, anything. So Pluto says, well, let's all throw everything into the cauldron, all teachings, everything, and set up our vetting standards. So mine are, does it guide people to their own participatory autonomy? Is it equal humans and the rest of our kin? Is it equal Mars and Venus? Is trickster ingenuity welcome? Can the truth be said without cringing? Yes, we ladle it out. No, we throw it back in. So this is big. We'll talk in the future. Jupiter, Saturn says, you dedicate to what? Don't worry about how. Situation's so dire we can't afford the luxury of realism, right? And Saturn's job is what, not how. Saturn's job is what? For self and for world. Dreaming for self and for world. Jupiter and Uranus chime in and say, we'll do how. Do common sense things, because that's magic too. But not to let the compelling illusion of realism be an imaginative impediment. So Pluto enters Aquarius, here we go. Jupiter and Uranus are on their rendezvous. Uranus, nature's evolutionary trickster genius, is stationing now, and it will go forward on January 27th. So from appearing to us on Earth to be moving backwards, stationing to go forward. So maybe the last thing to play with here at the moment is, I like this, why we're gathered now. And it says, if we entertain the possibility that we're moving into a field of enhanced serendipitous synchronous conductivity, what's the quality of what each one of us wants to connect with? To dance us into place where we can do the most good, have the most fun, cultivate and contribute our gifts to the community in a manner of reciprocal blessing. Or in your own words, that Saturn says, that'll do. We'll make that happen. There we go. That's our vessel that we're going to sail forth on. And then just think of it this way, as a metaphor, a planet moving backwards. We're all holding a bow and arrow. And so with one hand, we're pulling the Uranus trickster, cooperate with nature, bowstring backwards. It's stationing, going backwards. And I like this because the bowstring says, I don't think we're making any progress. We seem to be going backwards, but the bow says, no, no, you're really going to like this. To the extent that we pull in and back, our inner dedication strengthens our outer signal, so we're more likely to be danced into place with that with which we're in accord, and we pull it back. And then on the 27th, we let it fly for necessary miracles. And maybe we let it fly from where we are, hopping into our vessel to set sail. So blessings, Jupiter and Uranus. Last thing, I can't help myself. There's always a last thing, but this really is just the crucial. Jupiter and Uranus will conjoin in Taurus on April 21st. We are so blessed that our rogue species is still having opportunity and blessing bestowed upon us. It behooves us to. So Jupiter and Uranus, the two biggest path openers, will conjoin at 21 degrees of Taurus, whose image is, a white dove flying over troubled water. We go, but it's the festival of ingenuity. Who brought what? In all the cultivation, we are wealthy with ingenious and respectful solutions. It's the crisis of leadership and many things too. So those are the necessary miracles, but it's really, again, it can be a festival of all that we hold dear being planted in the earth, a culture of reverent ingenuity rising from the ashes. May it go well for all of us. Oof.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you. There's, I can ask you about so much that you shared with us, but I absolutely love what you say about that, how our inner dedication affects our outer signal for necessary miracles. And you've given us so much to really expand our mind and expand our hearts.
Well, have you looked up the word ubiquity?
Tell us.
It's very fun, right? Because I like looking up everything. Anything anywhere is everywhere. And it's like, oh, that's what ubiquity means. It comes from ubi, which means where, and then qua, which is which, who. So it means where, which, who. It answers a question with two more questions. And it's come to mean everywhere. And then it's also like a cue, like a stage direction, anything. But it's a quirky, fun word. Where, which, who.
Where, which, who.
Where, which, who.
Who University.
Yeah, so where, which, who University. Yeah. There you
go. Everyone, if we don't have a lot of time, but if you have any questions for Caroline, please raise your hand. The great news is that she will be teaching a course for Ubiquity, Where, Which, Who, on February 4th. February 4th. So please save that date. It's going to be a 2-hour class with Caroline.
And one little thing, just because some trickster is scheduling all of us. So Jim had suggested February 4th, and I go, oh, that's very cool. That's exact midwinter. It's called one of the 4 gates of power. We call it Halloween, Candlemas, May Day, Lammas, but we round it off, but it's exact. So February 4th is exact when for 25,000 years, people have gathered to call in the guiding intelligence of community. So well done, everybody.
And I see Heather Ash here with us. Heather Ash, would you like to comment on Caroline's presentation?
Or spiral forth, or
fourth. So beautiful, Caroline. I've loved you for so many years, and to get the blast of you here at Ubiquity was such a joy and a grounding. And I think that's what I love about what we do here and what we have to keep in our being. I was going to say in our mind, but really in our being, is that place that we have magic inside when we connect with all that's around us. And just the beauty of you sharing about the idea of pulling the bow back, and that it seems like sometimes we're going backwards, or that nothing's happening, we're not getting traction. and to have the patience and the willingness to keep holding hands. And then also feel like, where am I not holding a hand? Where have I cut myself off from my grief or my fear or my dog or the rose down the street? And how can we continue to reach out to hold each other's hands during this time? And the Kogi prophecy could bring, I always worry a little bit about prophecy because I sometimes see it bring fear and paralyzation into humans. And Caroline, your and Jim's energy and Bonafé, like there's this like take action, but the action wants to be grounded in relationship with all of the beings that are around us, that are saying, listen, reconnect, slow down, come together in new ways. So my just gratitude and prayers to this incredible community that has continued to come together over the years. And may we, between now and these sacred times of Candlemas, of the solstice, may we take more time to let our heart break, to let go of our grievances, and to let our heart also feel the joy of the beauty that is always around us, and the nature that is always calling us back home.
Thank you so much, Adarash. Thank you. It's a beautiful, beautiful message. Jim, we'd like to hear from you.
Oh, here, I got to take myself off mute. Thank you, Heather Ash, for those comments. And I must say, Caroline, your remarks this morning about the relationship between grief and grievance and community and cult, I think are extraordinarily profound, because I think what we're seeing in Israel is a country as cult, caught up in grievance rather than grief. And we see that in the United States, particularly in the Republican Party. We see a whole cultic seizure of one of the major political parties in this country, caught up in grievance rather than grief. And so this Plutonian influence on community is extraordinarily powerful in our time. And we're watching it play out every day in Gaza. And with the Iowa primary on Monday, we see it playing out in the United States. It's an extraordinarily, for me, listening to you today, deep insight into some of the most fundamental dynamics that are seizing our world. And I would love to just have you comment more expansively on this relationship between grievance and grief and cult and community.
Yeah, no, we really
That's what's up for humanity, boy.
And we really want to put, right now, put our vetting standards in place as it gets busy, in which you go, oh, imprisoning. And then we can't, excuse me, talk anybody out of a cult, but we can do backstage magic. And so, excuse me, apparently I'm very moved by this thing. All right, let me take a sip from my cup that says, against all odds are the odds that Trickster likes. There you go. So, so we're riding on Trickster. But yes, it's crucial. So in all of us, right, to release grievance, because it's sneaky. It's like, ooh, and Neptune says, solve e coagula, dissolve and reimagine. Dissolution is the secret of the great work, in which we just go, if there's any grievance in me that is a fending off of grief, right, just, may it be dissolved in all of us so that we are available. Part of the language crafting, I've been so interested in composting the word vulnerable as a sneaky trick of the reality police conning people into thinking it's a relationship virtue. It's a war word. And people say, how long will we have war? And it's like, as long as we keep using it as a metaphor. It comes from the battlefield. It means woundable. And a friend was saying, I showed the vulnerable parts of myself to my friend, and he showed me the vulnerable. And I go, that sounds kinky. And he's like, oh, what do you mean? I go, well, here's what it means. It means woundable. And he's like, okay, well, what would you replace it with? And I go, it's not the same, but let's all feel, if we replace the word vulnerable with available. I revealed the available parts of myself, and I found the available parts of my friend. And available is a wonderful word. It means, competent to do good, right? So we just proclaim going, we're available. Because Uranus trickster, what are we putting on the table? Uranus says, I'm going to connect everybody to the coolest thing possible, inwardly and outwardly. Where would you like genius? And all I want from everybody is just a gesture of, we're available and we're willing, right? We're available and we're willing. Just a little mudra. Come on, team. And it's as though backstage goes, they've hoisted their sail, or some of them have hoisted their sails of willingness. We've hoisted our sail, let's go. And just power of metaphor. Metaphor means to carry across from the invisible into the incarnate actual. So let's think politicians are the sails, we're the wind. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing. Again, who brought what? And Uranus's glyph, it's symbol, it's like a little H with a circle drop below it. It looks like an archaic jail key. So it's like unlock yourself and pass it on, right? And I love, the Hafez says the small man builds prisons for everyone he meets, but the wise woman ducks under the moon and tosses keys to the beautiful and rowdy prisoners. And Jupiter and Uranus say, everybody, feel free to stick that as one of your long middle names. Bonafide tosses keys to the beautiful rowdy prisoners, Syed. Jim tosses keys to the beautiful and rowdy prisoners, Garrison. And it's like we toss the key, and it's autonomy, and it's who brought what. And then all the teachings, all the different chapters of our lives, are all CISPER reporting in. And some of our mentors gave us keys. They didn't always put the keys in the lock, right? And so for all of us, it's like, let's put the key in the lock of this teaching. And what would it mean to practice this democratic animism, going backstage to negotiate treaties across borders? Uranus is nature's evolutionary trickster genius that has no category of success fail. Just try stuff. Try that. Nope. Try that. Nope. Try that. And honing our little coyote wary ears, for what's bogus, right? And Lewis Hyde said, "Coyote is lucky if enough con men show up to school her." And we go, "We're very lucky. We're so lucky in con men to, and then to unlock that with all of our traditions, humor, satire, but also the invitation to the better story." Yeah. I mean, I was just at the huge, support Palestine gathering yesterday. The music was fabulous. But, some of my progressive team are still very, it's like, what would it mean to embody democracy and to extend the invitation to magnetize the irresistible, all-inclusive story, right? Many of the signs with Code Pink, I'm their fairy godmother, but I keep trying to get them to spiral more. Many of the signs were, abandon Biden. I'm like, really? That's the most powerful magic you got going? It's like, come on, team. We want our gatherings to be a little more invocatively powerful, not just Ninya. And also so complex. I mean, I want Pope Francis to call Joe Biden. It's late in the game, but to speak to his Catholic heart, to extend past the conditioning, we don't count on it all, but we're willing, and we do know, because we want complexity, that the more outrage at Biden, Bibi and Putin love that. It encourages Bibi to do more carnage. It's all so. if we're confounded, then we go, all right, come on in. Come on in, whatever is best for everybody. Come on in. Yeah.
Brilliant. Beautiful. 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 You know, that even the progressives can be caught up in grievance rather than grief.
Oh man, right. Well, the petty battles. Alison Laurie says the reason academic politics is so vicious is because the stakes are so small. I've been dealing. I mean, 27 years progressive left wing. You know, and it's like to embody democracy. You know, to tease it, because Yorna says the last ideas associated with it and community are equality. You know, democracy, synchronicity. And I was like, ooh, what do those have to do with each other? And then it became very clear. When we look down at somebody or up at somebody, there's no synchronicity magic. I mean, we all have different roles, right? But when we treat each other well with manners, magic increases. So it says, well, the Dementors may have more money and lawyers, but if we embody what we are dedicated to, then there's the cooperate with everything alive nature.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Caroline Casey, everyone. And we're going to have her back on February 4th. And when Georg and I chose the day, we had no idea.
Oh, it's best that way, right? So, yeah.
But there goes synchronicity again. And I just want to maybe Heather Ash, quick comment before we go on Teotihuacan, because the pilgrimage to Teo now at the solstice, everyone, particularly in the spirit of what Caroline just shared with us, becomes more important than ever. And just imagine being, you know, on the top of the pyramid of the sun on the solstice, at that moment of standing with the mother with groups all over the world. It will be a very exhilarating moment of dedication and synchronicity. And so just as we close, Heather Ash, just give us some magic from Teo.
Just one thought that popped into me is like, Don Miguel, who brought me to Teo the first time, is one of the biggest tricksters I know. And as an Indigenous elder and someone who has transformed so many people with his book, The Four Agreements, he really was the one that dreamt and brought people back to Teotihuacan in a really huge way. And I have so many trickster stories about Miguel, but as I was listening to Caroline in the beginning, I was like, there's something, of course, so much larger than all of us, that when we can surrender into not needing to know, not needing to understand. And Teotihuacan in that way is such a place of initiation and tricking our mind into falling into our hearts. And as a place that has been a center for people all over that area to come together. So I'll just leave one image, which I love, that maybe we can all magic. Under the Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, they discovered all of these conch shells that have carvings from all the different tribes around the area that were all brought together and put under the earth to hold a particular energy. And so I love the idea of us coming together from all the different tribes and also representing the animals, the plants, the sky beings, all of it to gather and to be held in the vessel of Teotihuacan, because that's really what it is. It's a vessel, it's a ship. And let's point it someplace magical. Thank you.
Thank you. So that brings us to a close, everyone, on this Sunday. We'll see everyone hopefully again on the 4th of February for a deeper dive into the astrology of 2024 and the very deep mythological synchronicities that occur when the literal and the mythological are held in a dialectical tension with a mind and soul like Caroline Casey. Been beautiful today, Caroline, just beautiful. And we have Banafshe to thank for you. So Banafshe, why don't you close us out with our benediction?
Thank you so much. I want to thank Caroline for inspiring us and I want to thank you, Jim and Heather Ash, and everyone who joined today. In closing, I would just love to say, Mother Earth, we hear your plea for rebalancing and healing. May we dissolve our grievances and stand with you, holding the vision for our human family to be available and willing to find our way, to dance our way to being in harmony with you. Thank you, everyone. So much love to you, and looking forward to hearing more from Caroline on February 4th.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Heather Ash. Love to everyone. It's going to be a great year. Talk soon. Bye for now.